All right, cool. Hello and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Melvin the Crimson Taurus, and unfortunately, Nima can't be with us tonight. She's doing some cage fighting after she got back from Russia, where she was training and fighting bears and doing all that good stuff. So, good luck to you, Nima. Beat that chick down. However, as you know, if I'm live, usually I have someone with me, and tonight is no exception. Please welcome the co host of the Malice Experience, one of the two Pondering Pagans, the dapper tarot reader and renegade himself, Mystic Salann.
Dapper has never been used to describe me before.
Well, it's used now. Darn it.
That is awesome. Hello. Thanks for having me on. I am excited to be here, and it'll be very interesting to see where their conversation goes, and I'm willing to take it anywhere.
All right. Well, that's always a good thing because it could possibly go anywhere. So, yeah. Okay. So, we're just going to jump right into it. What the heck's a pagan?
That depends on who you ask, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I do this in tarot too. It's so weird, but it's just how my brain works. Definitions. I like to start with definitions, but we all know that just because something's defined a certain way, that's not how it's actually experienced and shared by others or perceived. So, definition of pagan generally is going to be anything that's not Christian. Um, Pagan is a term that came well after the people who would have been described as pagan did it. So there's nobody running around 200 years ago saying, I'm pagan, I'm pagan. That didn't happen. So it does now because we're using that term to describe ourselves and use it. But ultimately, most pagans have a belief system that's not of the mainstream. It is not of the Christian or Catholic. There's quite, I mean, I'm not a scholar, so I wouldn't be able to list them all, but truly you're going to have somebody say a pagan is somebody who believes in nature as worship. Well, that's partially true. Not every pagan believes that way. Under the pagan umbrella, you can run into things like people calling themselves heathen, people who are from the hearth, people who believe in Norse gods and goddesses, people who are left-hand path, people who are Satanists. All those people, to me, fall under the pagan umbrella. It's basically anything that's not what the standard is. So if you, and this is getting better, but if somebody goes around or goes up to you and they ask you a question, say, hey, are you Christian or Catholic? Those things that first pop into your head, that's everything that pagan isn't. That's how I remember it, or how I like to think of it, because if you, and then you wouldn't want to talk about it at work, but if you did, most people are going to assume you are of one of the mainstream religions. And most of those mainstream religions are like Christianity, Catholicism, Presbyterian, all those, And so we fit into all of those things that are other. And that term pagan just fits it.
I like that. Other. That from other. Now on, that's what everyone should put. What are you? Other.
Other. I'm other. And so I forgot to mention Wiccan. I mean, Wiccan is considered pagan, Druid, all these different aspects of spirituality, fit under that, depending on whether you follow the definition or the feeling.
Okay, so are you a tree hugger?
Kind of.
Ooh.
I have talked to trees.
Well, that makes sense, though. I mean, they are living, and, so, yeah, I talk to plants myself, so I get it.
So, do they ever talk back?
Once.
I have had them talk back. I'm going to get my tinfoil hat. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, and the nature thing is different experience too. Like you have people who believe in worshiping nature itself, or worshiping as a goddess, or people like myself under the pagan umbrella. I believe we should respect all living things, and there's so many things that we don't know already that exist that Like I'm not worshiping the tree god of, oaks. That's not in. Now somebody may, nothing wrong with that. That would fit well under other. Um, so in that sense, it's a little bit different. But I definitely believe in conservation from a tree hugger standpoint. Um, we like putting solar on our house to try to, do better and conserve better. I'm definitely an animal lover. I'm surrounded by them. Um, Always have been. But yeah, so I am a tree hugger.
You look like, huh, how did I not realize this before? It's one of those
Yeah,
things.
it
Well,
was. I'm just thinking here. It's like, what? Maybe I am a tree hugger. But hey,
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we do. This is why we're still alive.
as I said,
So
can't live without them.
literally cannot live without them. Um, but going a bit further, yeah, I mean, I see nothing wrong with speaking to a plant, showing a little affection in some way, because they are living. They do respond. Science has proven that they respond. Oh, and we have quite a few people joining us. Hello, I'm just saying hello to everyone real quick. Kitten, Dr. D, Dr. D, that could be taken. Other
Please no.
Anyway, Dr. Dino, Ken Allen, Rook, hi Rook, Paranormal Witch, hello guys, thank you for dropping by. But yeah, science has proven that trees respond or plants respond, that they can feel us, we can feel them, and it was a very interesting experiment that was done many years ago, where scientists they I mean, this is a terrible experiment, but they
Uh-oh.
denied water to a plant for I don't know how long. And apparently, they were using equipment to where they can actually pick up the plant screaming for water. It was making noise, and they actually scream when you actually like maybe rip off a leaf and stuff. And it makes you rethink stepping on grass, but it's something to it.
Yeah, there's a practicality to living for me that some things need to be considered. That's one of them, um, because you go to a certain level and you can't function. But if you know about it and you're capable of making a difference or a change about it, or you can do just a little bit extra to avoid certain things, then you should, kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of studies, and this goes along lines of what we were talking about even earlier. It everybody, we don't know what we don't know, and whatever's proven right now is probably going to be disproven 100 years from now. I think the most exciting thing in the world would be to travel back in time. I'm sure people agree with that by itself, but going back in time to 1910 with a cell phone and showing them a video that you took, like, I mean, even in the 40s and 50s, we would have been like, that's never going to happen, y'all are stupid. Here we are. Well, we are stupid in general. No offense to anybody, but I mean, our human condition is not all that great sometimes. But that's a whole nother
Well,
whole
no,
nother topic.
it's like what's the saying? Like the person is smart, but people are dumb.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how I see it sometimes. Like, yeah, groups of people we get dumb because we do follow the leader instead of think individually. Freaking
Yeah.
Einsteins.
Even that though, like it's the smartest person in the world that's discovering all of the things that there are to discover. Eventually, that none of that's going to matter in and of itself, but the collective that whatever they've discovered in knowledge is going to have an impact. So it's like the further you get away from a discovery or a knowledge base that's new, the less important that individual string is. And it reminds me or makes me think of ancestry. Like ancestry to me is huge. It's like the most incredible thing in the world to me. Because if you think back of all the people in my family tree for me to exist, that went back to the beginning of time, whenever that was, any one of those people pulled out of that tree, I'm not here.
Yeah. I mean,
It's crazy.
yeah, I mean, one small thing different and you don't exist, or maybe you would exist just in a different capacity, in a different way. You know,
I might be a dragonfly.
yeah, that would be
Who
interesting.
knows? Or an alien.
Well, we are aliens.
Well, that's true.
I mean, we are aliens somehow, somewhere.
But from the plant perspective, though, like I do believe that plants are capable of much more than we give them to credit for, and I think a lot of it comes from perspective. One of the most awe-inspiring videos, I wish I still had it, is a time lapse of the South American Central American South, whatever, rainforest over time, and you can see like it's breathing, like it breathes in tune, but it's so slow you don't notice it. When you speed it up, you can see the bleed. I mean, I find it interesting that people don't know that like leaves open up in the morning and shut down. You can see those things happening. Like they're not just doing it because the water pressure changed. There's something that's causing that, and we don't know how to express it or explain it because we're humans, and because we can't, we say it's not true, and that's our folly. That's our failure as human beings to say, well, because I can't prove it, it's not true, it can't happen. Well, no, we're just not smart enough to figure it out yet.
Yeah. Keyword yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, now you got me thinking of a Venus flytrap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a weird like of the. I would never own one because they creep me out, but at the same time, I quite like them, and I think it's just amazing how they're just. And there goes that fly or bug or whatever gets sucked in there.
So, but I mean, just looking at the leaf
yeah.
of most plants, it looks like veins and artery systems. And we like to say, oh, it's very human-like. I'm like, no, we're very plant-like.
Yeah. I mean, isn't the... You would know this before I would, most likely, but the pituitary gland, the third eye, isn't that shaped like a pine cone?
That's where it got its name from. Yeah, okay. The pineal gland.
The pineal gland. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it absolutely.
So it's definitely something. Really, an ice cream truck? Really? God darn him!
Oh, that sounds good.
Oh, I'm sure you'll get some ice cream and extra over here. So, I want to know because I don't think you've ever really gone into detail. I mean, you probably have, and I've just missed it. But how did you land on this path of paganism? What brought you to it, and why did you decide to stay?
So I have not gone into a lot of detail about it. I don't know why. I guess it just never really came up. But in a nutshell, the easiest way is because it was cool. So I guess I don't care. I'm old enough to get my first pair of bifocals yesterday. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Long time. So I would say when I was 14 or 15, dealing with a lot of personal issues, coming out, trying to deal with those things in life that I wanted to prove myself wrong on. At the exact same time, the crowd that I was subjugated to included all of the others. So we had the others. Those were my people in high school and middle school. The outcast, and one of the girls that's in the outcast that I became really good friends with was Wiccan, and so we started. We started with the light as a feather stiff. We wanted to do everything that you could with Wiccan, and that's how we got into it because we thought it was cool. I don't talk to her much anymore. We still stay in contact, and this has been 25 years ago. She still considers herself pagan. We both consider ourselves Wiccan then. And the only reason that has changed is only because I have pulled so many things from so many different places. I don't have a path that you can find in a book because it's literally a mutt of paths. And it's what works for me. But that's why I got into it. And the reason I stayed into it is because I cycled in and out. For a while, I tried to go back to trying to believe what my family wanted me to believe, which is Southern Baptist, which is not good for a gay kid in Virginia, or anywhere.
What are you talking about? We're gonna bless the gay out of you. We
go. They tried. They did not bless it out. They only blessed it in. Seeded it deeper. But seriously, that's where it really came from because it was cool, and I stayed in it because I started to find so much acceptance that I didn't find elsewhere. Now. And it was acceptance in general but it wasn't like acceptance, or it was acceptance versus tolerance. It wasn't, hey, hate the sin, love the sinner. I'm like, okay, that's not a good cop out for treating me like a human being. So that whole idea of being open and being able to forge your own path is what kept me in it. And I've been through a couple of different paths in training. I think one of the main reasons why I'm still into and have always cycled back into my original belief system, which has changed, but the same kind of belief system in a pagan manner, is in the 18 to 19-year-old range. I had a friend of mine. This is the person who taught me tarot. She literally would kick me in the ass when I didn't do something right, and just really pushed me to look. If you want to be Christian, then be Christian, but be it because you believe it, not because you want to be it or want to do it for somebody else. And that whole push was when I sat down in the grass and everything settled around me. The dust cleared. What's most comfortable for me is to say, you know what, we're a part of this world. There's something way bigger than I'll ever understand, and that's okay. But what I can do right now is be a part of it, listen to it, hear what's going on around me, try to learn, try to understand. And paganism has just been that opening for me. And it's been easy to stay in because despite all of the things that are going on now where people are being gatekeepy and saying you can and can't do, that's always going to happen. Human beings suck. Um, I mean, we just do, myself included in that. But it leaves that open path for you to have something that's comfortable and that you can be exactly what you want and who you want and why you want. And you don't have to believe to be pagan in a god or goddess. You don't have to be a certain path. You don't have to be a white witch or a black witch or a gay witch, or, you just can be a witch, or you can be pagan, or you can not have any god or goddess at all. You can just, lay in the grass and make grass angels. I don't know.
Yeah. Sweet pea cameo. Hello. Um,
As long as she's not angry.
yeah, she just wants to find a spot. And all right, find a spot, please. So from then to now, what have you noticed changed about yourself from when you first stepped into paganism to where you are now?
Probably the knowledge and understanding of what we're capable of is not what we do. um it's often when you get into something new or into paganism, it's really interesting. It's new. It's like, what can I do with this? What can I manifest? What can I make? Now it's not really about that anymore. It's about what do I have to offer to make things just better in general. So my perspective has really shifted from what can paganism do for me at 15 to what can paganism allow me to do to develop myself at 40.
That's interesting because it's almost like taking a power elsewhere. Like Okay, how can I explain this? I almost see it as borrowing someone else's power only to realize you have your own power. You can do it yourself, and perhaps you can learn from this other person's power or gain information and maybe improve on it. But you know, what can you do to bring out what you already have in you?
Yeah, and the very true. And the initial getting into paganism is all about, I want to learn more, I want to do more, I want to think more, I want to have more stuff, I want to manifest things in my life. And the later stages for me, I say later stages like I'm 95. Not that if anybody's 95 you're in the late stages. No ageism, I promise. But it's that shift from what can this new thing give me to I already have all that. Like, I don't ask for money. I don't even ask for stress relief or calming. I just do. And that has changed. A lot of that came from training, on the druid path. I don't consider myself a druid. I'm not training in that, but I've taken the program to learn the things that a druid would be taught in the druid reconstruction path. But those things just offer so much more than what we can really put into writing. It's almost like, I want it before it's reading the book to get the knowledge. Now it's reading the book to enjoy the content. I don't know how else
No, I get
to
you.
word
I
it.
get where you're coming from, and I think you worded it in a good way. And you know, this is something that I've always wondered. When it comes to spell work, how do you do it? Like, is it actually a manipulation of energies of the universe, the world, whatever you want to call it, via your willpower and maybe enhanced by some herbs or something? Or is it all in our head and it's just a confidence boost that allows us to obtain something that was already there?
So I kind of feel like it's a bit of both, depending on what it is you're looking at. Like I don't picture energy going out from my wand to affecting somebody into a frog. We know that's not going to happen, right? If
Well,
anybody's,
it depends on who you are.
as of right now, we know that that's probably not likely. How
Yeah.
about that? That's been, yeah. But for me, what I think, and it's a hard thing for me to explain, but people usually get it. Um, when you think of the track of energy, energy can't be created or destroyed. Energy is in existence, and we don't even know that that's actually true. We only know we have somebody that made a law, and it's been true so far. So who knows? But at this point, the thoughts that I'm having when I'm doing a spell, and this can be, or I can use herbs to generate the scent or the thought process, and I can use candles or sigils and all these things to put the energy into a place where it is concentrated and usable. Whether that's a spell or not, it's still energy. It takes molecules of adenosine triphosphate, which is the battery fuel for our cells that our mitochondria create and use to make muscle movement and thoughts and our nerves to make their connections, right? Um, that energy comes from things that we eat. That energy comes from animal or plant matter that exists. So it's all energy transfer all the way through. So now I'm taking that same energy that has come to me by what I eat and breathe and respirate from, because it comes, part of that ATP comes from your intake of oxygen and exhalation of carbon dioxide, blah, 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 blah. And all that energy is now being used to create a gouge in the candle, or pulling the herbs out and mixing them and burning them and smelling them and having that change. So that energy is now focused on a specific thing. And yes, it is a huge mind game to get your mind into the right set of creating an intent that's going to get your brain to focus that intent into doing an action that you're going to more likely have a better outcome. So that part of it, there's a lot of mind to it, but I do believe, I don't know if it's a strong enough connection, because I don't know if that's the reason, but I do believe that the fact of all of that energy transfer coming together in my brain and my body when I put it out towards something, I do feel like there's some actual energy manipulation in when we do that. So it is more to me than just the mind part. It is 95% of it to me. That's why I agree that intent is extremely important, because setting the intent it's not doing anything special, but it's putting those pieces in the right place. You know what I mean? It's like you have a car and you want the car to go. It's got wheels, it's got a seat, it's got everything in it. It's got no engine. It's not going to go. But that one piece, that engine, makes the whole car go. Spell to me is putting that engine in, or that herb, to get to get that piece in, or that energy. It's your thought process. It's your spending the time with the sigils or calling to whatever you call to. That's kind of like putting the engine in the car for me that gets it to go. It's all of them together.
Okay. I see where you're going with that. I agree with it. But of course, my Taurus head is saying, well, you can get out since you got the wheels and everything, pop it in neutral and push that son of a monkey's uncle. It'll be harder, but but that's because I'm just one of those people where I believe in willpower and intent above anything. I truly do believe what you put out, you get back, and if you push hard enough, you'll get something. But
I
you know,
100% agree. Um, and I know I've said this. I just like saying it because it's weird that I know it sometimes. I'm a Virgo. If anybody has ever described a Virgo, I'm a Virgo, except the fact that most serial killers, or many serial killers, more than their fair percentage, are actually Virgos. That's true, but that's not the part that I carry. But it's true. To me, spell work is 95% intent, because you're setting your mind. It's setting goals. It's goal setting. You're setting your mind into the right space. And if it takes burning cinnamon, which does have a chemical reaction in your brain, to feel stronger about something, then yes, cinnamon's attribute is strength.
I
So
have done that
sure,
too.
yeah, and that helps. It does. I do think there's more to it than we are able to explain or know, um, but I don't know it, or can't explain it. So I kind of leave that to its own devices. I have done spells and they have worked despite my lack of physical action. So I do. There's something there. I just don't know that we know how. To me, that we know how all those little
Well,
pieces come together.
they say
And as
that magic is science that just can't be explained yet. So
exactly. I will tell your Taurus though about the car thing. Get out and push it. It's the same energy. Exact same energy. It's you're just using it in your muscle
yeah.
instead of your head.
So do what you got to do.
Uh
Um,
huh.
so
As long as it moves.
here's something that I think is interesting that I don't think you've ever been asked before. But what are some of the
Oh,
hard truths that you had to accept and had to face when you walked down this path?
it's actually fortunately for me, been relatively easy. Um, as far as and I can separate like hard truths into two things: hard truths that I've realized along the way, and hard truths that I've dealt with. The number one hardest thing for me to learn, and thankfully I learned it relatively early on, is that magic is not going to fix my problems. Paganism, spirituality, none of that is going to fix my problems. The only person that can fix my problems is me. Magic helps me get in the right headspace. Spells help me get in the right headspace. Meditation is probably the number one thing. I've known meditation my whole life. Well, not my whole life, but since my teens, when I originally got into Wicca. And then it kind of stopped. And then when I went back to school for my profession and got my master's degree, our first class was mindfulness and meditation. Pretty interesting to me, because this was a science class, like a science degree, master's degree. And it starts off with mindfulness and meditation. And I'll tell you, that class it definitely changed my trajectory moving forward from then. Because it was the reminder that these things are not going to fix our problems. If you're falling apart and you're having dark times, paganism, Christianity, none of those are going to fix your problem. They might make you feel better for a while, but you still have to deal with them. That was a hard truth. Trying to use magic and spirituality to fix my personal problems, or my self-image issues, my self-deprecation, and all those things that I've done along the way, still do sometimes, but I don't hold anybody accountable to those, or any process or anything, but myself. Other hard truths are, admitting it is hard. Like, I mean, it was easier to come out gay for me than to come out as a pagan, over and over, because like there's such a like, at least with, like, if I come out to somebody as gay and they don't like it, I'm like, okay, well, look, you may not like it, you may have your preconceived notion, but you hang out with me long enough, you're going to get over it. And they do every time. Family, same thing. Family hated it. Didn't, kicked out of my house when I was young, 16, and had to live on my own. And they hate it. They love it. They have no problems now. Zero, not an issue. Because I think, you hang out with me long enough, no, grandma, I'm not going to be hanging off of the chandelier swinging nude in chaps. That's just not my thing. And if it was, I wouldn't tell you, because you're my grandmother. But those are the concerns and things. But coming out as pagan, or telling people I'm pagan, it is almost like an incredulity look or a thought. I'm like, you are so, but you, God, like, how much different is that? Do you not see like the hypocrisy in that? And that's the hardest thing, is people assuming how we should react, how a pagan should act, or how you should be. That was a much harder truth, and for me to admit it to myself and actually call myself pagan, that didn't happen um, until much, much, much later. Like, I would say 10 years ago at the most. Witch was easier because, I could just tell people like, I'm a witch, get away from me, I'll stick some spiders on you. But that, to me, the hardest thing was magic wasn't going to fix you. You have to fix yourself. You can use it as a assistant, and continually having to explain to people. It's really easy for me to just say, and somebody, and all the time, constantly say, "Oh, are you married? Yes. What's her name? Brad."
Well,
And it kind of gets, you just go on from that. But people see the little pinnacle on my chest, and it's like pearl clutching. I'm like, okay, calm down.
yeah, you know, I guess it's just one of those things, unfortunately, but you've accepted that. That's always a positive. And, I guess a good way of dealing with the two is just joking about it. And I would definitely love to say, if someone asks me, "What are you?" I would love to say, "I'm a witch." That would be awesome. I'm a witch. And just, no, no, no. I got to do it differently, though. I'd have to change my voice because I have the least intimidating voice ever. Um, I'm a witch, homie. You want some? Come at me. There we go. That's what I'll do. I want to do that
Oh,
now.
I love it. I'm dying.
Okay, so Paranormal Witch actually has a question for you.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, so you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but
Oh no.
how did you and Prince Rookie meet? I bet it's
think
a
that is
lovely
so
romantic
cute.
story.
Yeah, it's so cute. It's such a romantic. No, it's not a romantic story. We met on MySpace. I chased him down, and then we went on a date, and then he ignored me and didn't show up for the second date. And then I stalked him at his work because he worked next door to me, and we didn't know it until then. And then we didn't talk for a couple months, and then some other things I'm not going to share happened, and then we started dating on Christmas Day again. And then we got married in October of 2014. Is that right? 2014? Jesus. Yeah, we've been together 14 years. 15 years this year.
You're lucky you didn't get the cops called on you.
Oh, look, he wasn't getting away. There's no chance of that.
Call
And
the
it wasn't,
cops.
I didn't even, at that point, I didn't even care about the getting away. I'm like, you're not going to do that to me. You're not going to not show up to a date. I will find you. I will tell you my piece, and then we can separate. But you're not going to not show.
That's absolutely scary. I mean, you know, you, congrats, but that is absolutely. You're not getting away.
Virgo?
I will find you, and I will find you.
I find you. But yeah, no, that's yeah. And we stopped talking for a while because he royally pissed me off with something, and he knows why. And then he came back, and that was it.
Okay. Well,
not very romantic.
Well, a Paranormal Witch thinks it's romantic, so she says it's adorable, and what she says goes. So it's freaking adorable.
Let's take it.
Darn straight. Okay, so with this magic community, and this is one of the things where I'm kind of fortunate because I don't really consider myself in the magic community. I like to say I'm looking through a window, and you notice a lot of stuff. But we have the right hand path and the left hand path, and to tell you the truth, like I really don't know what is what. I just kind of maybe simplify it to Jedi and Sith, same force, same energy, just used differently. Where would paganism, where would that, because I know you said you do have pagans that are left hand path, but as a whole, do you think it could fit into the left hand path, or would it be right hand path?
So the one thing for me is I never ever considered, thought of, or heard of left hand path until the last year. Like it wasn't a thing. It didn't exist to me because I don't like when things are polarized, because there's no such thing as total opposites when it comes to human beings and people, right? There's just too much in the middle. And then when people hear so I think when people call themselves self-identify as left-hand path, they're self-identifying as a specific thing, not just the opposite of right-hand path, right? So it's like, you have a gray witch with a lowercase g or a capital G. The lowercase g, gray witch, it's an adjective. The uppercase G would be a I don't even know anymore. I've done lost my train of thought on that. But you get the point. Like, I don't think that when people and I could be completely 1,000,000,000% wrong on this because I am not smart in the left hand right hand path thing. But what I've figured is that people who call themselves left hand path aren't just calling themselves the opposite of right hand path. It's its own thing, and nobody that I know has ever called themselves right hand path. And so my thought process is there is no such thing as left hand and right hand path, as in opposite sides of a coin, right? Because I think it's perspective, and I think it's a like the grain of sand where the belief starts and where that trajectory goes. So the right hand path, the trajectory starts at the power or the energy or the existence is outside of me and is the all power omniscient creator of everything, where the left hand path is I just thought of something better and I could again still be wrong. To me, like, right hand path is we are made in God's image. Left hand path is we are gods and God is created by people in our image as a God. So, and it's not that that is actually the truth. It's like that's the perspective of it, the concept underlying it. Because I hear often people say, well, left hand path isn't balanced. Oh, I don't think that's true at all. I think left hand path can be balanced. I don't consider myself left hand path because I just have never considered myself left hand path. I have this conversation a lot on and offline on the other podcast, and it's you don't have to be left and right hand path to be balanced, like, because they're not on this. They're just not opposites. It's just like, I carry the rainbow vomit and unicorn glitter name on in some cases, but I have never been a positive all white light practitioner. Like, my life has always been about being in the middle and trying to balance both sides, and balance is less of a 50-50 thing and more like a keyhole and a key. The key, nothing is half and half on the key. You put it in the keyhole. That's cute. You put it in the keyhole, right? And it's not 50-50. Those little pieces on the key are in different places, but the lock works because it's balanced based on that specific key. And that's kind of the same thing for spirituality. But I do think paganism fits well in the description of the generalized left-hand path. But not always. It depends on exactly how you believe. Like, I know there's just so many different pieces of it, and I just don't like left and right hand path as its own thing, as a descriptor of the two pieces. But I also don't think when people call themselves left hand, I'm repeating myself now, I get that. When people call themselves left hand path, they're talking about a thing called the left hand path, not a direction, right? Just like, I don't know, I can't think of a great example of something right now, but I don't like it. I think it's very limiting, and I think it's hard to. It's really hard to work a positive, balanced spirituality when you're so bent on making sure that you're described right.
Yeah, well, for me, like I said, that's why I look at it like Star Wars, because the Force is the Force, just used differently. And I don't like labels at all. They really bug me. Someone's like, I'm blah 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 blee 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 non-binary. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. I don't want to insult you, but can't you just be a person at this point? And that's kind of how I feel about the left hand path and the right hand path. Like, you do things differently. I get that, but it's just I don't like labels. I'm weird.
I don't think that's weird, but I've never been. I don't have problems with labels. I like them in some instances, but I think when you have to label or be labeled, it isn't a bad thing, but it is something that indicates a juvenile understanding of that thing. Because I think labeling things are important so that we can organize and make good decisions based on things that may have at risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm when I first came out, it was very important that everybody knew. And then as I got older, I'm like, yeah, that's so not important. It's just the one tiny fraction part of my life. I am obsessive with high performance race cars. I love vehicles. I can rebuild an engine. I love witchy, and we have 7 fish tanks. Those are the things that matter about my life. I love my profession. I'm a nurse. Those are the things I enjoy. This one label is such a small thing, but I needed it to help me and my brain to figure out who I was and what I was doing and what was happening in my life. Once and again, just a personal experience. I don't know that that's true for everybody. I have, when it comes to like the whole, and I don't want to, probably not a good idea to go down all that too much, but I think labels are necessary for people at points in time. But when we start using that as the only thing to define that group or that person or that individual, then it becomes messy. Like right now, I think it's important to be labeled as a cisgendered hetero or homosexual male. I think that's important because it makes people think about, okay, well, there's something else that I don't know about yet. And perhaps that person or that thing needs elevation until there's equality that will support them and not be in fear of their life for being a transsexual or transgendered or whatever the case is. So there's a benefit to them, but they take on a life of their own and they become the only label. Mm-hmm. Like when people hear that I label myself as a witch, they're like, oh, you're a witch. Like, okay. And I literally have said this before to somebody, like, I have an employee like at work. Like, it's been, and like, just stop. Just stop. Just stop. That's not how this works. You don't know. Don't worry about it. Not your business. And let's move on.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't care enough. I think that's my biggest problem. Like, I just don't care. It's like, are you a decent person? Well, yeah. All right, we're good.
Yep. And see, you're where it should be. That is how it should be. That's where we attain to be. I think that's where we need to be, but we're not there. Like people, like humanity. Yeah.
So Dr. Dino said something interesting, and you're gonna have to fill us in more on this. But he said that keep in mind the concept of the left hand or right hand is rooted in racism. I did not know that. So if you want to share more information on that, please do.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that. I'm not familiar with the left hand and right hand path concept of that. I am familiar with the white witch and black witch as being rooted in racism. I've had that discussion and I've heard that before, but never with the left hand and right hand path. That would be very interesting to hear more about.
Yeah. And hello, Maeve. Hope you're doing good. Thank you for dropping by. And if you guys are enjoying, feel free to hit the like button. And if you're not enjoying, feel free to hit the dislike button. Either way, you're still here. So thank you. And I got to go to the car talk real quick, man. But what do you think about that new freaking C8 Z06?
It's gorgeous. And I'm not a, and this is probably going to piss some people off too. Like I'll be labeled as an America hater. I don't like American cars. I am all about
right, the stream's over. We're done. Goodbye.
I'm all about the imports. Like this is the car I actually own and drive.
What is that, Porsche?
It's a Supra.
Oh, what year?
2020.
Oh, you have the new one.
I have the new one. I had the old one when I was younger, and I want the new one. It is not near as fun.
I always liked the 94.
That's what I had, was a 94.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, and the new one is not near as fun. It's fun. It's really fun, and it has scared me a few times, and the back end has slipped out from underneath me. But it's not as fun as the old one, which would, just for the record, if anybody's ever interested, that would be this one.
Yeah, 94, the good one, the right one.
Yeah, this is it. This is the 94. But anyway, so I'm a total car nut. But it's always been imports for me. But went to Publix, this was probably a couple months ago, in the Supra, and we're pulling in, and the guy is in a convertible. I think it was a convertible. I'm pretty sure it was CO8, the new mid engine, and it's just it's beautiful. And he gets out of the car, he's like, "Dude, I love your car." I'm like, "Fuck you." Excuse no French.
No,
Uh,
curse away. I don't care.
like, because he was I'm like, you're being nice. It's close. Like, my car is definitely more rare. There's at least 50 of those right now around my neighborhood, and I'm one of 2 that I've seen on the road. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But they would cream me in a race.
Well,
So I'm not even
yeah,
going to try it.
but I mean, it's 2 different classes. I mean,
Yeah. But it's beautiful.
oh god, if anyone wants to just be nice and
I
get
know where
me
this is going.
a gift, that C8 Corvette will do. Please. Or, you could get me a pizza. I'll settle on that. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up because I think
Yeah.
that car is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous.
My dad, I've grown up around cars, me and my sister both, which I don't know if anybody knows I have a sister. She's nuts. I need to get her into the chat one day. I don't even think she turns this stuff on, but love her dearly. If you are watching, she's nuts. But we both have and can rebuild just about any car from the bottom up before 2015.
Mhm.
After that, I can't figure that shit out. I
Yeah.
open the hood of the Super and it's all plastic. I'm like, I don't know what this
Yeah,
is.
too much technology.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down. Too much tech. Um,
Yeah.
so you also, I said in the little intro, the Dapper Tarot reader. You do tarot. Like, how did you get into tarot?
So that is a very interesting story. So this goes back to when I first, well, not first, probably 3 or 4 years into being a Wiccan, and I had moved out. I'd been living with my boyfriend at the time, and there's this little place we affectionately call it. It was the 1001 Mart, and it's one of those indoor flea markets with people could rent little sections, and one of the sections was rented out by a witch, and I just connected with her like immediately. She made her candles, she made all her stuff, she consigned, and she had a tarot deck, and I'm like, I want to learn. So she said, I will teach you, and then she didn't say a word, and I was there every day. I'd say I was 18 or 19, and finally she came down, or I came down to the store, and I was in there. She was showing me how to make dip candles using a big cauldron and dipping the thing over and over and over to make candles. And then she would do inscriptions and stuff. And she says, I have something for you. She gave me a pack of tarot cards. They were handmade,
Hmm.
and they were not like anything that you could buy. They were made cards. They were all different weird shapes. They weren't cut evenly. And I asked her, I was like, well, how am I supposed to learn this? She's like, well, you carry them around, spend some time with them, you'll learn them. And that's how I learned tarot. There's no book. It was handmade. I had to give them back to her eventually, but she really pushed me a little bit actually away from the Wiccan path and more to the eclectic path, which is what I do consider myself now, is just an eclectic pagan, because there's just too many things that I pulled from to make any sense. And I got into tarot then. I loved reading tarot. And then I didn't for a while. And then I got back into it, and I tried to learn all the traditional meanings and got good with that. And then now, my style, I know Paranormal had asked about style.
Hmm.
It's very, I call it a crapshoot. Um, it's very whatever happens. It's very important to me to meditate first. I know a huge difference of how tarot goes, whether I meditate and call to the deities that and energies I like to bring in when I read. Um, for some reason, though, the Virgo sun, Virgo moon, and Taurus rising in my brain, in my body, in my chart, I always divert back to teaching. Even during, I can be doing a tarot reading for anybody right across from it, and I'm going to start teaching you tarot. Like, it's just how I work. Like, and the tens mean but for you it's blah blah, and here's why. Just say what you're seeing, and I've never been able to break that. But
Yeah. Well, that's
um,
that's your thing, though. That's what works for you.
yeah, and it does. I enjoy tarot significantly. Like, it's one of my favorite things to do in as many different ways as possible. Just randomly pulling a card. My dog has eaten a couple of decks. And we'll find cards randomly, like under the mattress. We found one of the card the other day. It was the sun card. I'm like, well, today's going to be a great day, and it was. So my dog's doing tarot reads for us.
You could probably make money off that.
I'd lose more because she eats the cards when she's done.
Oh,
Like
that's
there's not much
terrible.
left. There's
Oh,
not much left.
okay. Expensive reader she is.
Very.
Um, I was thinking about that in regards to myself actually. What type of reader am I? Because every now and then on stream I'll pull cards if Bonnie's not gonna do it. If I'm just feeling up to it, and I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea how I would describe myself. But for you, I would describe you as someone who is very, very calm. And yes, you do have the teaching aspect going, but you also have it to where you can open someone up to get them to actually listen and feel what you're saying. Not just hear it, but feel it to where they are then going to take it to heart, go out, and it's like, hey, there's something here. So that's how
Yeah.
I would describe
I
it.
appreciate that. And I don't even to me tarot is a divination tool. Like I feel more connected and more calm and comfortable when I'm doing tarot than anything else that I do. Um, because it is a process for me. Like I literally, and it's the same for the freaking podcast that we do. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of it because I have to slow and meditate and really just breathe in and calm out before I can do it right. And I've enjoyed personal readings. I was out of practice for a while when I started personal readings back up, and they were funky. I do believe that whether you believe in tarot or not as a spiritual divination tool or not, it can do nothing but help you if you think it through. I'd pull a card now and completely disconnected. You get the sun card. Okay, well, I need to pay attention to things that bring positivity and create that. You can't go wrong with that. Like you can't. And so I try to get people who don't believe in it. Like my mom does not want to do tarot, but I can do tarot with my mom because she'll take it as a self-help cards, you know, or something of that sort.
That's a good way of seeing them.
Yeah.
A little self help. Like this is what you need. Okay, so this is gonna be stupid, but I am asking for a reason.
Uh-oh.
In your experience, because you have how many decks do you have?
Did I mention I was a Virgo? I think I did. Hold on, let me get my spreadsheet up.
Oh gosh.
And of course it's going to say it can't access it. That's ridiculous. Last
Of course.
We're going to have a problem now. You know what? I'm probably going to have to log into that OneNote, but it was about 210 decks, maybe.
Whew.
Somewhere around there.
That's a lot.
And a Chihuahua, if anybody wants.
Oh, what's the dog's name?
Do you really want to know?
Go ahead.
I did not name her.
Oh, okay.
Her name is Mademoiselle Ma Petite Poissette Astra.
All right, so Astra cameo. There. Well,
I call her Muppet Titties.
What?
That's what I call her.
More power to you. But anyway, the reason why I ask about the decks is because there are unfortunately certain stories and information floating about that says if you use a deck, say something like the an occult terror deck, you are opening a pathway for demons to come in and this and that. And if you use a deck such as the angel terror deck, then you will bring forth angels and everything. In your experience, is any of that true?
Yes. I want to gouge my ears out right now. I'm not a fan of terror decks. Tarot is great though. And I love when Bonnie says tarot. Like it's how it should be said. It just is. I don't know. I have to say that. But anyway, no, to me, if you have a deck of 3x5 cards that are blank and you treat them as if you're trying to call in demons, you're going to get demonic energy. Yeah. It's what you're putting out. So no, I don't believe to believe that we can, to believe that I would be able to do that simply by pulling cards, that makes me way more godlike than I would like to ever think. I don't have that power. Maybe some people do, and I just haven't figured it out yet. Um, but I used the occult tarot. I still, well, maybe I do have a couple demons attached. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Um,
if that was the case, I use the tarot sexual magic. I am not getting laid, so
yeah, maybe you're not doing the cards right.
I must not be. Darn it.
But I think that's kind of, well, that it's two misconceptions rolled up in one. Tarot is a divination tool. It is a tool designed to coordinate your mind to your connection with the spirit in order to get information that can affect change. Whether you believe in fates or not, I don't. I also don't believe in coincidence. Things happen for a reason. That reason may not be significant for anything. It may be because it's green. That might be the reason. Their reasons can be simple. They don't have to be these huge things. But I've used the occult tarot and the angel tarot and many, many other tarots, and that misconception or idea that using them brings demonic and demons into your life, to me, is a little exaggerated. But then the second misconception is, if you bring demons into your life and that's what you're looking for, then that's a good thing. I don't believe in Christian demons the way that Christianity does. I don't work with them specifically, but when I pull a card that has a demon on it, I get the same kind of image and connection and thought with tarot as I do when I pull Pan on the Sunlight card, or Ellen of the Ways, who's one of my favorite deities to work with, which is tattooed on my back. I get the same thing from that as I would from the occult tarot. It's not any darker or more evil magic. It's the same thing, just used differently. So I think that kind of goes both ways.
Yeah. So speaking of summoning and bringing something forth, hum. um
My dog's looking at me like I'm crazy.
Uh-oh. May have done something now. Okay, so since you practice witchcraft, or maybe should we say spellcraft or spell casting? I don't know. I want a
call it
cool name
witchcraft.
for that. I don't know. I want to call it something else. I want to call it something like, just, it sounds awesome but different. Well, okay. For right now, we'll stick with witchcraft, but I think I want to change it up one day. But anyway, since you practice that, have you actually ever met any deities or felt the energy of what we would consider some type of deity, whether it's god, goddess, I don't know, flunky, whatever?
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely have. So there's a lot of different uh what is the term for people who believe in one god? I cannot think of it right now.
What, monotheistic?
Monotheistic. Thank you. Jesus. I don't even know the name of my own stuff. So when people think of a monotheistic god, they think of one god that is the creator of all things. I mean, duotheistic, you have the male and female usually, or more not pantheism. There's one in the middle there, like when you believe in many, many gods. There's a word for that. Poly. Thank you. I'm losing my brain. Look, I've worked this week. It's hard.
Yeah, I got it. It's hard. Okay.
But polytheism, yes, that, there's multiple gods, goddesses, but those things have attributes that represent certain things. And then I consider myself pantheistic. I guess I could have started there, because then I would have remembered the word. Where I believe that everything living has some piece of a soul or god or entity in them, that whether we know it or not, all of those things are the exact same thing, just different perspective of processing the same information. And I don't worship God, goddess, deity. I don't believe they're set here to be idolized and worshipped. I believe they exist as part of ourselves to help us attain higher levels so that we can work through things that we need to work through. That being said, I have felt presence of quite a few in workings that I have done. I have seen images that do not match any image that I have seen of what these people or these entities are supposed to look like. But the hard thing for me to express or explain is I don't see them as necessarily entities or beings or things. it's an abstract version and almost a voice, or a feeling of hearing a voice, but there's not actually a voice there. So one of my first experiences that I ever can recall, of working with a deity is Dionysus, and that was something I spent a lot of time working with, and it came at a time where I was really diving into working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and going to school full time and all this stuff. And I was trying to figure out how to balance that better. And I was basically told, stop it or you're going to kill yourself. There's too much going on. And Dionysus, without any research, is the person or the entity that I picked in my head during a meditation session, or just a working, you can call it. And come to learn after that, Dionysus is the god of, I don't want to say non-binary, but like a very pleasure god, drinking wine, having fun, enjoying, living,
Yeah.
just not feminine, not masculine, just an existence of looking for something that's Epicurean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first experience I ever had. And I can remember vividly, like in my brain, exactly what I was seeing and where I was, the names of the people who were present there, that it felt like this was something that happened 10,000 years ago. Whether that's my mind just making something up because my human brain can't explain an experience, or I just needed to fill in the blanks, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be true experience or a true existence. The truth is that I experienced it, and how it made me feel and react changed some of the things that I did. And it was an experience that I hold on to really well, because it balanced me out. It got me to where I needed to be. So whether it was the actual god Dionysus speaking to me, telling me to do something, or it was my brain filling in the blanks, it doesn't matter. The experience was what it was. I tend to not see like an actual, like I always use the example of Caradwin is a very, very popular deity, a mother deity, and she has her cauldron of life, and she brews her cauldron of life to, spare her ugly son because he's so ugly. So she's going to give him knowledge. And there's this whole story that goes along with it. And do I think she's up there? No, no. I really don't think that happened. And I don't think she's up there stirring her little cauldron and doing her thing. But I do think that there is an energy that it exists that represents that being or that thing somewhere.
Well,
And that's important to the practice for me.
I agree with that. And then if we look at mythological stories, oftentimes they gave personas to nature, and why not same thing? So there is, I think there is an energy behind it. Whether whether she's stirring a cauldron or not, I don't know. I guess we'll find out one day. But like you said, probably not. But I do think there is an energy there. It is something behind it.
Mm-hmm. I think our brains just we can't think of how else we can describe it. So we have to give it something to have a shape or a form, or else we can't interact with it, because our brains just don't function that well that way.
No, I mean, and if it did, well, we'd probably be in a padded cell. So
we'd be ascended.
Oh yes, to the 11th dimension.
I did watch that video, but go ahead.
God darn it. Oh gosh. Anyway, so do you need a mentor at all? Because a lot of times we see people on YouTube, and we'll hear about folks jumping into the craft, and I contacted this god and they're guiding me this way, or someone going bibbity bobbity boo and this is my love spell. But do you feel that a mentor is needed to actually get anywhere to understand?
No. Simple answer is no. I don't think a mentor is needed. I don't. like, and it's weird because I mentor in a lot of things. My professional life, I'm a mentor to, to preceptees for nursing, and um, but mentor is really a good, huge benefit if the mentor is I have a mentor now. I've had a couple. I've been doing this in the craft or the occult or paganism for 25 years, and I have a mentor right now, and she barely knows she's my mentor. She's really my friend, but she just every once in a while she'll just take the little knob and give it a little twist, and I'm like, shit, okay, I need to fix something, because she's just she's able to do that for us, and she does it for Rook too. And it's very beneficial because she doesn't steer us in a direction of what she wants us to see or do. She steers us in a direction of how to figure it out for ourselves. And that's one of the things that is you have to be very careful with when you're learning. Do you need a mentor? No. Is it more important to learn the basic steps of? To me, the most important thing is to learn how to meditate. Like that's the basis of everything for me, because you have to be able to calm and clear your mind and then allow your brain to then fill with the space of whatever it is you're trying to do or communicate with or find or learn. And if a mentor is not moving that forward for you, then they're moving you backwards. So not necessary, but very helpful if it's the right one. I will never take away the experience of somebody else that has done something or experienced something. I will never take away from people wanting to charge for their services or do the things that they want to do for money or whatever. That's fine. I'm not going to judge you for it, but it isn't the right way to grow into your own spirituality from my perspective. I've never had somebody say you have to be Wiccan, you have to be pagan, you have to be Druid, you have to be Grey Witch, you have to be blah, blah, blah. Those people are not the people you want to mentor you. The person you want to mentor you is, hey, how do you feel you're doing right now? What do you feel like you need to learn? Where's your weaknesses? What do you want to do? What do you want spirituality to give to you? What do you want to do in 10 years? What's the purpose for you? And then say, to help them find their own is the only way to properly mentor somebody. I have things I want to say, but I'm not going to say them because they're very specific to very specific people and things, and it just doesn't make sense. But I'm trying to figure out how to reword it because I don't want to go there.
Well, don't worry. You don't have to go
there.
Don't.
Just the best way I can say it is don't let other people direct your learning or your growth. If it doesn't fit, then don't do it. If it does fit, then do it.
All right. Sorry, had to just boot something real quick. But yeah, I can agree with that. And going to meditation real quick, because people struggle with meditation, and
have some tips.
For me with meditation, I think for me, they do it wrong because it's hard clearing your mind because it's so much noise in there. And when you get into a spot where it is quiet, that noise amplifies. And I tell people, for me anyway, I tell them to, okay, don't shut out the noise. Listen to what's the strongest thing you hear. And go from that point and focus on that thing, and you'll find yourself falling into a trance hearing it. I say focus on something instead of necessarily clearing your mind to then focus on something. If you can't do that, then focus on something to start. But again, that's just for me. And it may not always work for everyone, but it's just a different way of looking at it. Because oftentimes we do hear, clear your mind, find your center, be calm and cool. And it's like, no, I mean, yeah, get relaxed, but don't necessarily clear your mind.
So that is beautiful advice. And not many people give it or take it, but to me, that's how I would teach somebody meditation. The first thing is the human mind is not meant to be empty. It's not meant to be clear. Like it is, you can't chase the clearing your mind, but you can dial your focus in on something. And that's what we can be good at. And it's different for everybody. True. But I give the same advice when people ask me, like, I have so much trouble clearing my mind. Well, stop trying to clear your mind. Maybe you're not supposed to clear your mind. There's a lot of things you can do. For me, it's find your substrate. I like substrate. It's just a cool word of find your scaffold or find your hook that hooks you into a repetitive, calm thing. For me, it's binaural beats. The most effective. I have everything that I have experienced, I feel like on a different level that has been like magnificent revelation has been with binaural beats. Like true, not just binaural beats, but like true actual scientific different frequencies in your different ears. And it does something to me. Like I have had an experience where I fly weekly, except for 1 week out of each month. I'm always on a flight, and I hate it. I'm so tired of it. But I was on one flight where I was listening to binaural beats, and I am telling you, I don't know. It was a 10-day trip in my brain. Like I thought it was 10 days later after the end of this, and it was a 2-hour flight.
Oh.
And the binaural beats, just the back and forth, it puts my mind in the right place, and I use that for my meditation. It is the most effective thing. Binaural beats and a rhythmic motion. Those two things. Like if you watch me when I'm meditating, it freaks people out because I'll start doing this, and then I start going. I'll start.
Well,
and it's weird, but it's just the motion. It just makes me feel good.
Well, it's in a weird way, it's you finding that frequency, because it reminds me of voodoo rituals when they are bringing forth the lua, and they have the drums going to find that frequency, and they move their bodies, and they have to find. So it makes sense to me. It makes total sense.
Yeah. Well, I don't know anything about that. Like that's not something I'm familiar with, but I know other people will look at me and they're like,
oh, we're gonna have to get you on with the voodoo practitioner now.
Yeah, like it's always been the binaural beats and the rhythmic motion.
Yeah.
But find your substrate, right? You find the thing that puts you in that space and try different things. Binaural beats may not be it. Drums is a good one for many people if it's a repetitive drum. But the one thing I've never been able to do is I've never cleared my mind. But what I can do is, and I do meditation in 2 separate steps, and a lot of people combine them. My 2 separate steps are mindfulness first. And this is very helpful for stress reduction and for just general life. And that is whatever you're doing when you feel you're at that point where things are going too crazy, or if you're sitting down to prepare for meditation, you do a mindfulness practice, which is getting your brain into the here and now in this moment for right now. It's like, okay, there's too much going on. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm going kind of crazy at work. And I'll be like, okay, I will literally count my fingers. Okay. Thumb, finger, 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 thumb, finger, finger, finger. And it brings your brain back down to a physical space where it's manageable. The other thing that I like to do is when you put your hands together and just, I think in my brain, what does the pressure between my 2 thumbs feel like? The pressure between my 2 index fingers. 20 seconds, 30 seconds of time to get your brain back into the physical space of right now. Because when you get crazy, it's just all over the place. Then when you have it down to that point, then you can maybe focus on one sound. A lot of people will focus on a number or numbers. That's a helpful meditation technique where I describe, okay, a 1. You can have the 1. It's a vertical number, has a base, it's 3-dimensional. This particular one is black. And then your brain will start going off into, okay, it's black, it's night outside, it's dark, I'm afraid of the dark. Okay, bring yourself back and be gentle when you bring yourself back to the one thing. Don't let it all go. Just say, okay, that thought came in, flick the thought out. And that's also helpful to actually picture yourself flicking the thought back out or pushing it back out and just letting it clear back up. But I mean, meditation is the biggest part of spirituality to me, period.
Yeah. And
I can't do anything else without it.
Now I'm feeling awfully lucky, and it's now making me question if I don't have much going on in my head, because I can pretty much clear it. Just boop, done. So, man, that's a lot of work doing this. But if it works, it works. That's what matters.
Do you meditate a lot?
No. It's well, you got to remember, like it's partially it's my personality, and not too much gets to me to begin with, and I'm a fairly grounded, slow moving, easygoing person. So I don't take a lot of things, to heart. I don't let a lot of things get to me. So I don't have a it sounds worse than what it actually is, but I don't have a lot of
No.
thinking going on. It's not too much that stresses me out.
Yeah,
So
you've assigned the appropriate emotional and physical and mental responses to things as they actually are. That's what a Taurus does. That's why they're so immovable, because everything is already assigned. Nothing's going to change that, right? So that's a good thing, and that's very helpful for meditation for most people. But majority of people have so many. Like for me, like I can get into a meditative state in 1 minute, but that took a lot of practice
yeah.
because Virgo, yes, but there's also Virgos have a level of neuroses in general, and then I have that like times 10 because mental illness in my family. I think we've been touched, all of us.
One way of putting
But
it.
but yeah, so it's dependent, completely different for every person too. Everybody's going to experience it differently and do it differently. But the key is really, if a thought comes in, just try to move it on, and don't necessarily clear your mind. Just work to be as calm as possible and as focused as possible, and try different things.
So Paranormal Witch is mentioning something about a dragon here. Mystic, you mentioned before you want to learn about dragon. Are you gonna try to work with dragon entities? What's going on with this dragon thing? What is this?
I most definitely am interested and going to try to work with it because so I don't, again, going back to my own personal spirituality, a pantheistic belief of representation. And my brain is weird for a Virgo. I have a very symbolic brain. I work in metaphors and similes, and things are like this, and this is like this, and that's similar to that. And organizing things that way works for me. So working with a dragon entity is not a stretch for me. It's a very simple opposite representation, or not an opposite, I guess, analog representation of any other deity. And it's one of the reasons why if I get so tickled when people say, "Oh, you can't mix." You can't mix those Egyptian deities with the Welsh deities. They'll go crazy and you'll die. No, Ishtar, Inanna, same thing. There's so many analogs. I just don't see it that way. So to me, the working with the dragon entity is going to be very interesting. I want to learn more. It speaks to me. I got a couple of books to read. I want to see how they feel. I want to talk to a couple of people that have offered some time to me to learn from, and see if that alters any of the thought processes that I already have, just like I have with every other pantheon that I've considered in my life. It's all a different metaphor and representation of the same thing for me.
I would definitely recommend you check out Curtis Joseph stuff, since he works with Dragon Entity and all that. If you can get him to put things into layman's terms, because good gosh, man, Curtis over there, you look in the eye of the dragon and you feel the bones,
Dude,
the solid, and you know what's happening.
I love listening to him, but every once in a while I'm like, I have to watch this like 5 times. Like I have to go back, and I need to, like, I feel like I'm in like a scholarly study of the ancient arts at a, like, whatever the 10th level of PhD is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, you literally feel your brain ooze out of your ears.
Yeah.
But it's good stuff.
Yeah. It is.
It's good stuff.
And it takes a minute to get sometimes, but it's there. It's not easy.
So, speaking of entities and deities, what's your thoughts on aliens or extraterrestrials, sky people, star people, whatever we want to call them?
I don't know why I always think of a phrase from one of the Roseanne shows. Who are the Allens and why are they out of spice? And it was Sandra Bernhardt saying she was abducted by aliens from outer space. That's just the first thing that always comes to my mind, and I don't know why. But anyway, That being said, I don't think you can. I don't think there's an option to believe or not to believe in aliens because I think they exist. Period.
Mhm.
But I don't know enough of like there's something else out there. There's no question. Like
Well,
truly.
the Animaniacs said it best. It's a great big universe, and we're all really puny, tiny little specks about the size of Mickey Rooney. So,
We're tiny, we're puny, we're all a little loony, and in this cartoony, we're invading your team. Okay.
well, you went to Tiny Toon Adventures, but that
Yeah.
works too.
Yeah. I was getting there. Yeah.
But
Baby steps. It's been a long time.
but do you think it's
Yeah.
possible that extraterrestrials could have portrayed gods or goddesses or nature spirits, elementals to our ancestors?
Possible, yes. Probable, probably.
And if so, why have they not shown back up now?
Because we're a disappointment.
Okay. Darn. Well, shoot.
No, seriously though, I do believe I do believe in aliens, and I believe that I really do think that there's probably aliens here and we don't know it.
Mhm.
And I don't even know if they know it. Um, but I don't think it's this. It's not some. It just there's too much to me that to think that we're the only thing that exists, and maybe it is chance enough that we've never connected, and maybe we've never seen aliens, and maybe everything is explainable that we have, and nothing that we have seen, no UFOs, none of that stuff are aliens. I still would believe that they exist.
Yeah. Well,
Just I mean, I believe in energy in the way that they exist. I don't even doubt it.
so to put the universe size into perspective, it's 600 trillion light years, I believe, in the seeable universe. Seeable. Okay. So that's not even a percentage of what of or how big the universe actually is. So I always say if you really think that the possibility probability of other life not being out there, I mean, come on. Like it's just insane. I'm sure there's a mathematical number that will show up and say, "Oh, well, it's statistically I suck at math. I don't know it. I hate numbers." But, you know, if you really think it's nothing else out there, it's impossible, then boy, do I have a bridge I want to sell you.
Yeah. I you know, I just there's so much we don't know and can't explain. And all we can do is explain it through the perspective or the thought that we have. Like, there's nothing to compare it to. And then the people who are smart enough and have the brain power, I should say, who have the brain power to determine or figure these things out, they wouldn't be able to figure them out anyway,
Mhm.
because there's nothing that can evidence that or can support that, and it relegates all of this to a belief, and that's why we say, do we believe in aliens? Because we just don't have any way to prove or disprove it. Um, but I feel like it's a step further than belief, right? The knowledge and information that we have about our universe and chance and our own existence, to me, it would be odd to not believe that aliens exist. And just maybe if we didn't call them aliens because that's such a buzzword for people, aliens, immediate tinfoil hat conversation is coming into 90% of people's head, you know? And
Yeah.
then you have the whole religious aspect of it. Well, no, aliens don't exist because God would have had to create them, and that's not in the Bible. Like,
Yeah, if if it ain't if it's not in the holy book, it doesn't exist.
doesn't exist? No, sir.
So, um, so what are you skeptical about then?
I'm not, well, I don't know.
Oh wow, really? I thought you would be skeptical about something.
Like my skepticism is, I would call it situational. Um, like I I am a true Virgo. I'm going to say it again. I've said it before. I am the mediator. I'm in the middle on everything. It pisses everybody off. Because I'm like, I'm always going to see it your way. People are always going to tell me, it's like, oh, you let people walk all over you. Like, no, I don't, because I know that they're doing it. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It is what it is. I am always going to be in the middle, like, because I cannot say something doesn't exist if I don't have any evidence to support it. But even if you show it to me in front of my face, I still create a space where that doesn't exist, or that is the opposite of what you say it is, because I think there's so much more to life and to our existence than what we are experiencing right now. Like, I believe in reincarnation. I definitely believe in aliens. I believe in spirituality. I believe in all of these things. And in order for me to do that and be comfortable, I have to create a space for everything having an unknown aspect. Right. And so that makes skepticism pretty hard to do, unless you're just saying, I'm skeptical because I don't have an answer. So then I'm skeptical about everything. And in a true Virgo sense, I've just given you the same corporate answer for both sides. That's how I work. Because you have to me, it's creating a space for things to exist outside of how I believe them or feel that they are. Like, I would be skeptical about, I mean, I can't even think of a good example, but I know they exist, about certain situations where I'm like, okay, that's obviously not what happened there. You're crazy. Ghosts. I'm skeptical a lot with ghosts, and entities like haunts and things like that. Like, I do believe it's possible, but I think the majority of those are people putting in what they want to put in.
Yeah, I'm kind of dealing with that at the moment.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it does happen. Like, I think there are true hauntings, and I think those things can occur, but I think a lot of it is human made.
I agree.
I can be skeptical in the goodness of people.
That
That's
that one's
cynical.
that one's easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
Out of curiosity, would you ever go on a ghost hunt?
yes.
Oh, it's time for you to hook up with Bonnie.
Dude, so okay, good story. Two stories actually out of this. Number one, I have a ghost hunting kit.
Oh wow.
We have the EMF, we have the little gun thermometer, we've got the high tech sound thing. We were working on getting the Paralight and all this other stuff. So yeah, we're definitely, both of us are interested in that. We are looking at a friend of ours of going to the Florida. What is it called? Brad, Brooke, whatever her name is.
That's a
And we were not
bad
secretive
look,
about our
man.
names. I don't know why I even care. What was that thing we were going to do? He's not listening to me.
I am listening, but I'm confused because you're talking and I'm listening.
He's easy to confuse. The Koreans, yes. So there's this thing, and there's a spiritual movement in Florida with the Koreans, and we want to do a ghost hunt on one of those locations. We also went to St. Augustine, Florida, to do a ghost hunt, but we ended up not ever leaving the RV.
Oh, well.
But yes, absolutely. We visited my family a couple years ago and went to a ghost walk, an outdoor ghost walk in an area of Virginia where Blackbeard the pirate supposedly stashed his treasure, and had some very, very uncomfortable and weird experiences. So absolutely would go on a ghost hunt. We're actively right now trying to find one to go to, actually.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Oh, fill me in on that when you find it. So I'm
Oh, we
curious to know
will.
how it goes. Um, I don't think I will ever do a ghost hunt or visit a haunted house or nothing like that. That's not for me. I'll talk about it, but you guys can experience it.
Dude, the one we did in Virginia was close to where I grew up, and it screwed me up for a minute. Like, I was freaked out for a while.
Yeah. I mean, well, it
Yeah.
changes your perspective on things a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and Did you get touched?
I didn't get touched,
Okay.
but we did. I did get, and Brad had the same feeling. Um, we were this whole area, and there's been lots of things that have happened down in this area. Lots of ghost scene. It's been written about in books in Virginia. I'm from Tidewater, Virginia, Hampton Roads, and there's a lot of history there, obviously in Virginia, and it's old schoolhouse road, and there's a whole bunch of things. And we were literally walking down the road. We had the grid lights up, the laser grid.
Mm-hmm.
We had the little par light up, the EMF, the whole 9 yards we had out on this road. And both Rook and I got so incredibly uncomfortable and sick to our stomachs at the same spot on the road where we had to turn around and go back.
Wow.
And I'm like, it was weird. It creeped me out, but I want to do it again.
Oh, it's freaky. Oh no. Blah, I'm gonna throw. Blah. Let's do it again. Come on.
And it was really, we were actually scheduled to go on a ghost walk that night, but it was really cold. It was with my sister, and it rained. It was just a bad situation. So everybody disbanded and they canceled the walk. Well, one of the girls who was kind of doing it called back and said, "Hey, it's 11:30 at night, but we're going back. You want to meet us there?" So we all went back, and that was creepy. Yeah, and I am afraid of the dark. So
Oh gosh, a great old school Nickelodeon show as well.
oh, I missed that show.
It was really good.
It was. I lived for that.
So we're gonna start wrapping it up, but this is something that Mr. Malice actually brings up quite a bit, and it is a unification of the magic community. This is my cynicism coming out, but I don't think it's actually possible. Because I think it's just too many personalities and too many people want to be King Dingaling and all that good stuff. But what's your thoughts on it? Can the magic community actually unite and be one and work together?
No, and I don't truly think it needs to be. I support the cause and the idea and the theory behind it. I do. It is a noble cause. It's a great thing, but it's just not necessary. We don't need the unification. To me, well, first of all, I cannot stand the word. Like, it just peels my skin. But we don't need to be unified. We don't need to be front. None of us need to be deciding what other people should and shouldn't agree with at all. Period. End of story. Don't agree with that. What we do need to do is just be better freaking human beings. That's all we need. I don't agree with you. I don't believe the same way that you believe. Let's go have a coffee. Let's go have a beer. Let's hang out. You like cars? Let's talk about cars. We don't have to believe the same thing. We don't have to unify to get that. We just need to be better to each other. And that's really what the message to me is and should be is. And it's not even just the occult community, because when you unify like the occult community, you are creating a space separate from other spaces. Like it's in effect not unifying. You know what I mean?
It's creating a divide, but
it
you
does
just have
it
numbers on this
creates
divide.
it.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, it's less about unification. Again, noble cause. I'll support it when my friends want to do it and they feel that it's necessary. I'll support it because I support my friends. But me as an individual, I don't support necessarily like a unification of the magic community, because the separation and the differences, that's what I love. But I do support singling out and tearing down of the people who recommend violence, hate, hurt, or anything towards anybody else. So we don't need to unify our thoughts and our processes and get together on what we believe. But we can all take out the people if they're spewing hate or discontent or fighting or physical violence or any kind of violence or any of that stuff. We can all come together on that, take care of that, and then separate our back on our own ways. We don't, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of like my theory on it. It's less about unifying we're not going to. I mean, the left-hand path itself, if there are 15 million people that subscribe and call themselves left-hand path, then you have 15 million different left-hand paths.
Yeah. But it would be nice though if a little bit of the ego deflated and people just accept, all right, you have, like you said, your way of doing things. I have my way. Perhaps you can teach me a little of your way. That would be nice. If we can open up and actually be willing to converse and teach one another, you don't necessarily again have to accept it or say this is right or wrong, whatever, but giving a little bit of yourself to someone and they give a little bit of themselves to you, I think that would help. I think that would
It
help tremendously.
it would, and I agree, but that's, to me, that's not a construct of spirituality
Mm.
or paganism. It's a construct of the human condition. Um, I mean, if we're talking about food, spirituality, work, career, school level, socioeconomic level, mental, any of those things, they're going to have that same separation. It's not paganism that needs to be unified or that's having trouble. It's the human condition that is. And so it's going to cross every boundary that we ever create. The only thing that we can individually do is, again, be better to each other. That's what needs to improve, regardless of any type of spirituality. Just, you know what, I have something I like to share. Like, I have my YouTube channel. I really don't give a shit about views and likes. I don't. And I have people calling me all the time saying, oh, if you want more views, you can do this. And I get advice. If you need more, I don't care. I am chronicling what we enjoy. If you like it, great. If you don't, bye. Don't watch it. That's my take on my particular, what we're doing. But I will never knock somebody else's choices or decisions or the way that they do things. And you're right. I wish we did that less as a community. But in the end, it's not just the spiritual community or the occult or the pagan community or the witch community, left-hand path community that does that. It's human beings that do that. And we do it no matter what. You give us 2 cars and we're going to fight about which one's better. You give us 2 houses, you give them for free. We're going to fight about why they got the better house with more rooms.
And this is why I half joke when I say this, but I'm also serious. The aliens need to show up already in a big ship. Yeah, sure, everyone will panic, but it gives us something new to hate. So there we go. Okay, so for the last thing, and this one's kind of a big one.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's big because it's giving advice. But what advice would you give to someone who might be lost and they're going down this magic path? It doesn't have to necessarily be the path of a pagan or Wiccan or something, but they're going down this magic path, trying to find themselves, just to find who they are. What advice would you give to them?
I think the most important thing is, if you're lost and you're trying to find who you are, you will never find it in something else. You're always going to find it in yourself. But if you need something else to give you a crutch or to hold your leg up while you figure it out, spirituality is a good one to do it with, because it gives you direction. And again, and I'm not going to knock Christianity too bad on this one. Any spirituality or personal growth is going to help give you a direction, or at least a leg to stand on. So just know, that whatever it is you're looking for, it's okay to look for it. It's okay to not have the answer right away. But even more important is, once you get into, and if this is a path that you're looking for and you want to grow in it, and you're using it as part of that crutch, don't take any one source as an answer for you. You read books, you listen to people, everything that I've said or you've said, or anybody tells you. If you sit down and take it at the value that it is, and it feels good and it makes you feel comfortable with who you are on a cellular level, then you should consider doing that. But none of it is a gospel. The one mistake that I made the most was taking what each person that I interacted with as the truth, until I realized that there isn't a truth. There's no truth to your beliefs, because they don't go together. Like, truth and belief don't go together, because if it's truth, then you don't need to believe it, because it's true. And if you believe it, then it doesn't necessarily require or mean that it is true. It's the same thing with faith. Faith is built upon not having proof. So you have to place it on something that doesn't exist. So the advice is specifically when you are learning from people or you read a book, it is not the only source. You can take that information and apply it in your own way and find what is the right way for you. Find somebody to talk to or to listen, or a forum or a chat or something where you can share your advice. But the second somebody judges you for that advice, they immediately get written off. So look for the buzzwords. You can't. How dare you? Why did you? That's not right. You can't do that. All of those things, those buzz phrases, they're useless. Those people are the ones you ignore. The one that says, have you tried? Or this is how I do it. Or I tried this and it helped. Those are the ones you want to listen to. Try them. If they don't work, try something else. But just, there is no one source for this. And that is, I wish somebody would have told me that 20 years ago, that when I read the one book, that this isn't how it had to be, because that book doesn't work. Didn't work for me.
Well, clearly you didn't read the right book, because, Demon Dealer will tell you how it is.
Dude, I wouldn't read that book if you paid me. Thankfully, you already read it.
Yeah, well, okay. So, fun fact, so you guys can know, the two books that I do have, Demon Dealer and Demons and Familiar, I actually, the money did not go directly to the author. The first one I didn't pay for. It was a gift before we knew things, and I never paid for it. And the second one, the money actually went to charity. So something good came out of it, but I refuse to directly pay this person to read this stuff. So just want to clear that up real quick.
You were right when you were going to say the first time. But it's, I will never claim to be the best person or good at everything. I suck at a lot of things. And one of those things is I try really hard not to judge people, but there are some people that you just can't help.
Yeah.
And then I'm just so glad you had to read that, not me.
So I know what I'm going to get you for a birthday gift. But if
you want a video of me throwing it in the trash, sure.
No, you can't throw away. You can't.
It's not offensive.
You can't do that. You can't throw away literature, no matter how good or bad it is. You just can't.
It has to be considered literature.
But yeah, this is a good spot to end it. If people wanted to check you out, hear you do your readings, or learn more about paganism, or just you in general, you and Rook, where would they go?
So there are a couple of places to find me and Rook, and one of them is the Two Pondering Pagans, or just Two Pondering Pagans, on YouTube. That is where we kind of share all of our witchy stuff. We've had a little bit of hiatus, but put a new video out today. We have a second channel, and this is one I'm really proud of, but it's just starting, the Fishy Witches, because we are big into home aquariums, so we'll be sharing all of our fish stuff on there. And on Facebook, it's also Two Pondering Pagans. That's where you'll find us.
And those links are in the description below. Mystic, thank you for coming on. It was awesome. So, and thank you all for joining us. I hope everyone enjoyed. And Rook.
I have no words for him. Please excuse the rookie in the chat. I apologize.
It's all
but
good.
It has been a blast. I had fun.
And you guys, remember to also follow Unexplained Possibilities on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and Instagram. Those links are in the description below. And with that said, remember, guys, there are things that go bump in the night. Go ahead and tell them hi. Bye, everybody.